Hey, it's Liberty. This is editing me just popping in to say video quality on this is not the best because I'm currently in my bedroom isolating because I am still testing positive for the so-called stealth variant, and it's taking me a while to shift. I probably will be breathing funny and that kind of thing. I'm very sorry about that. Please do continue to wear your masks. I probably got it in a restaurant or maybe on public transport on the way back from said restaurant, but I was wearing my mask on the bus, so I don't know. But yeah, stay safe. The stealth variant is very transmissible and very prevalent right now. I'm gonna let past me take it away then. Hey, it's Liberty, and today I'm going to be doing my first ever book haul. I've been making videos for a couple of years now about books, and this is my first ever book haul. I can't believe it. In the last 6 months or so, I think I've bought about 10 books, so I'm just gonna be talking about those. After 2 years of dodging this, I currently have the stealth version of the thing that we shall not talk about. This is like day 6 of me testing positive now, and so I also want to apologise for the way that my breathing will sound. I'm getting very winded very easily when talking, so anyway, I'm going to get straight into the book haul, and I'm going to divide this by genre because, it's easier to skip around. If you like this, then do give a little thumbs up. I make all sorts of videos about books, history, personality, etc. So do check those out if you want, and I'm going to get straight into it. So the first book I have here to talk about is Pachinko, and this is by Min Jin Lee, and this was a Christmas present. I'm very happy to receive it. It follows one Korean family through the generations. They sort of different members of the family, they end up in Japan, and that's as much as I know about it actually, and as much as I want to know. I can make certain assumptions, but it starts in the 1900s, in that decade, and it sort of follows through 4 generations to, I'm not sure what time actually. I know that Korea was occupied by Japan. I know that there's a lot of collective trauma and history between the two countries. It's quite a sensitive topic, but I don't know a lot about the actual specifics of it, so I'm very interested to find that out. A pachinko is apparently like a kind of arcade game, because gambling is illegal in Japan and has been, I assume, for hundreds of years. But the pachinko machines were a way to get around the loophole of gambling being banned. And I think it's something like 80% or like around like 4/5, I'm not sure, of like pachinko parlors in Japan were or are owned by ethnic Koreans who are living in Japan. So I assume it's, there's going to be one of these parlors in here. Yeah, apparently there are even some pachinko parlors in the UK, or were, I'm not sure. Anyway, this book has rave reviews, and actually there's an adaptation coming out, I think April or something like that. I want to read it before I see the adaptation, but it's Apple TV, so I don't have Apple TV, so it might be a while before I see it. The second book that I got was also a Christmas present, and this one is The Kingdoms by Natasha Pulley. Now, I've talked before about how this has been on my TBR. I read 2 of her previous books and massively enjoyed them. Her writing style is something that I really, really enjoy. The main character suffers with amnesia, and he essentially gets off a train in the French colony of England, and that is his first memory, is him getting off this train, and he receives this postcard which is of a lighthouse, and it's in Scotland, which is like rebel owned, and he sort of believes that he will discover more about himself if he follows the postcard and, you know, finds the lighthouse. And so he goes on this journey to discover what is going on. Oh, yeah, and this is set in the 19th century. So this is sort of like alternative historical fiction kind of thing. This book is apparently time-bending and genre-bending, perfect for the fans of the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, which I am, so that's perfect. This is also signed, which is yay. This will be read in the foreseeable future, immediate future. I had to go and shut my door because the washing machine was really loud, and then I whacked my knee on my dresser on the way back. And I will not treat you to what I said, but ow. The third and final fiction book that I have from my haul is The Lost Apothecary. Again, this has been on my TBR since I bought it, I think my last TBR. But I'm very excited for this, as you can see. I got it from Waterstones. This is partially set in 18th century London, and a apothecary sort of caters to women who want to get rid of, you know, sort of abusive and oppressive men in their lives. It's very specific clientele. Something unfortunately goes wrong with one of the clients, and that sort of has huge consequences. And the other part of this is in present day London, and we follow Caroline, and she is a amateur historian, and essentially she is spending her 10th wedding anniversary alone, and she discovers something about the Lost Apothecary, and the deaths that were potentially associated with it. There are lots of secrets and intrigue and all sorts of stuff to be had with this, and it's not very long either. So yeah, this will be great. I can't wait to read this. This is high up the TBR. Next, I'm moving on to fantasy, and the first book I have to talk about is A Declaration on the Rights of Magicians. Now, I did not realise this was the first in a series when I bought this, but this is essentially set in the Age of Enlightenment, which is kind of like in Europe, the 17th and 18th centuries. It's like early modern Europe. It's kind of like another alternative fiction, but like alternative magical history. Like Robespierre, for example, calling for revolution in France, but he's a necromancer. Toussaint Overture is also still leading a slave rebellion in Haiti, but he is a weather mage. And William Pitt, the English Prime Minister, he is sort of considering legalising magic usage amongst the common people and making it illegal in the colonies. The early modern period of history in Europe is a time of immense change and upheaval and all sorts of things happening. So throwing magic into the mix is really intriguing. I am very curious to see how this is going to play out, and yeah. There is also a hidden enemy that people have to come together to stop before the whole of the world is plunged into darkness and evil and all of that stuff. So high stakes, which I like with fantasy. Yeah, it sounds right up my street and excited to read it. The next fantasy book I've talked about a couple times. I have it. I have Gallant by V.E. Schwab, and it is a really nice addition too. It is gorgeous and signed as well. Yeah, I love V.E. Schwab. I think she is an amazing writer. Her Darker Shade of Magic series I particularly enjoyed. And so yeah, this is a standalone adult fantasy. So very very happy. This is sort of set in a world of shadows, you know, light and dark, life and death, that kind of thing. It has been described as sort of a mix, a mashup, or if you like The Secret Garden and Crimson Peak, then you will like this. and, perfect for fans of Neil Gaiman. I love Neil Gaiman, big fan of The Secret Garden, and while I've not seen Crimson Peak, the whole gothic aesthetic, I can see what this is going to be like, and I can see that I'm going to enjoy it. The main character is Olivia, and she has grown up in this school, and I don't know what happened to her parents, but the only thing she has of her mother's is a journal, which sort of, she can see her mother going slowly mad as she writes this journal. And yeah, not good. But she suddenly receives this invitation home, in inverted commas, to Gallant, where she goes, and discovers that no one is expecting her, and yet she discovers that this place feels more like home than anywhere else she's ever been, and so she decides to stay. The house is hiding a lot of secrets. This kind of gives me Stranger Things upside down vibes, which I think is probably going to be a big part of it, because there's, shadow versus light, so there's probably shadow realms or something like that. She's seeing things in hallways that shouldn't be there, so I think that's what we're going to get with this, and I'm excited for it. I might save that to read in autumn, because it just gives me autumn vibes, dark academia, spooky vibes. Sorry, I'm leaning back now. I've lost the ability to hold myself up. Next, I am going to be talking about classics, and the first one that I picked up is this movie tie-in cover of David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. I have spoken a fair bit about how much I love Dickens's writing, how amazing I think he is. I loved this film, and I thought it was amazing. And apparently, according to my parents who have both read this, the book is even better than the film. So very much can't wait to dive in. It is huge. Many hundreds of pages. 700 and something pages with very small writing. Oh dear. But I wanted to read this for a number of years now and never got round to it, I think because of the size, but essentially, Dickens called this book his favourite child, so it is his favourite, which is nice, we like that. It's a coming of age. We follow David Copperfield as he, from a child, from a poor background, he never had a lot of money, to, all through all sorts. He goes right the way through Victorian society and all around. And he meets a bunch of just bizarre and brilliant and zany characters. This is coming of age. This is finding your place in the world kind of story. And I'm all here for that kind of story. My second classic that I'm going to talk about is Heritage by Vita Sackville-West. I love Vita Sackville-West. I bought this at Knoll when I went to visit. Knoll is a National Trust property. It is where Vita grew up, but couldn't inherit because she was a woman. And again, conflicting. Obviously, I feel sorry for her as a woman, but, I can't feel sorry for aristocrats. I just can't. Knoll is huge. It's beautiful. The fact that, she knows she was very lucky to have lived in that house for her childhood, and she grew very attached to it. But that's a tangent I'm going on here. Anyway, this is her first heroine that she's written, and it's all about Ruth Penniston, and she is a farmer's daughter. She was born in Kent. She was brought up in Kent, very much like there is a lot of Vita's life and experiences and stuff like that in this novel. So she's obviously, English, but however, when you look at her, you sort of see the Spanish ancestry that Ruth has, and her grandmother was a Spanish dancer, like Vita's. Vita's grandmother was a Spanish dancer who ended up having children with the second Baron Sackville. Anyway, within this novel, there is, there's love, romance, love triangle, drama, all sorts. So I can't wait to get stuck in on that. Similarly, like I've been doing with Hemingway, I've been trying not to, read it all so quickly because obviously they're both dead. There's no more new novels from them. So I'm kind of doing once a year, something like that. So I have a YA, I think. It might be YA, it might be middle grade, I'm not entirely sure. But it is a fantasy, and it is Momo by Michael Ende. I think that's how you say it. Ende. But he is a German writer, and so this is actually fitting in with my goal to read more translated fiction. Oh, he also wrote The Neverending Story. Again, I've heard of that, but I've never read it. But essentially, I picked this up because my favourite group, the leader of my favourite group, is releasing his second mini album, and he said that it was based on this book. And so I thought I might give it a read and then review the album and make it a video because I love books and I love music, and this just seemed to be the perfect, meeting point of those two things. So that's why I picked this up relatively recently. Anyway, Momo is a homeless girl who lives on the outskirts of a city in a ruined amphitheatre, and she has a special ability which she uses to help the people who sort of come and visit her. One day her city is taken over by these men in grey. This novel is also referred to as The Men in Grey or The Grey Gentleman. And essentially Momo has to figure out how to defeat them with the help of a professor and his tortoise, which you see on the front cover there. Yeah, only Momo can resist these men, and this is a novel kind of about time and the way that time is used in human society. Apparently this is fitting into a theme of this book haul of time. A lot of these books have something to do with time. So it's time for me to read it also because the album comes out in April, and if I want to do this video, I've got to read it soon. I've actually had to cut this a little bit short on video because the camera on my phone has decided to give up. And I don't know what's going on with it, and this is probably Apple trying to get me to buy a new phone because I'm at the end of my contract. So the rest of this is going to be in audio form, and I hope that's fine. The final book in my book haul is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. Now, Viktor E. Frankl was a psychiatrist, I'm not sure if he's still alive, but this book is a lot about his experiences in Nazi concentration camps and also the experience of his patients because he was a psychiatrist and like the suffering that they went through. And this is all about suffering and, how to cope because, something that every human has in common is that they will suffer at some point in their life, and how to cope with that is a question that we are constantly asking ourselves as humans. And, hope is a very big thing. And this is going to be all about that. So that was my book haul. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking with me. My right arm now hurts and my throat hurts. So I really hope you enjoyed it. Do give this a like if you enjoyed it, and I make videos all about books, history, personality, all sorts. So do check those out if you want. I am now going to have some water and tea. That took a bit out of me. Stay safe and stay healthy, everyone. Stealth is not fun. Happy reading.